You tune into the Sportscast with Brian, Craig, and Jeff. Give you all the sports news you need. We give you outspoken thoughts about all the headlines. We talk baseball, football, hockey, and more. No matter the topic, we cover it. Get ready for the show and keep it outspoken. Keep it outspoken. We keep it outspoken only on the Sportscast. Tune into the Sportscast with Brian, Craig, and Jeff. Give you all the sports news you need.
Hello, guys. Welcome in to Watson's Playbook, episode number 59. Me and Jeff were off last week, but we are back this week. So glad to be back on here. Jeff is on this episode today. How's it going, Jeff?
It's going pretty good. I am just a week, having to take some time off. It's really made me want to come back on here, and missed it for sure.
Yeah, I feel the same. I'm like, oh man, it stinks. We missed the week, and then by the next week, I'm like, I'm so ready to jump on. I'm pumped up and ready to go. As we jump into the spotlight of the week here, Jeff, you know who else is pumped up? The Milwaukee fan base, brother.
Oh yeah, that was insane. I saw the amount of people that were there, and it's just that place was bumping for sure.
Bumping, partying like they haven't partied in 50 years. That's the last time that the Bucks have actually won a championship. What a crazy NBA championship, right? We've had a fantastic playoffs. We've had some fantastic playoff games, and the teams who ended up in the championship, we really didn't expect to be there, so we didn't really know what to expect. And the Suns jumped out to a quick 2-0 lead, and they lose 4 straight. They basically got swept. You take away those first 2 games. But man, I tell you what, a couple years ago, I ain't gonna lie, I didn't think Giannis was this type of player. I didn't think his game fit into the league we have today, and he's really developed his game a little bit more, shooting threes. He's gotten better at his free throws we've seen it progress during these playoffs. But man, what a beast. I don't know if you got to watch the closing game, but he put up 50 points. He had 5 blocks, 17 rebounds. He was 17 of 19 from the free throw line. And this game, the closing game was kind of some bad basketball. A lot of the players were missing so many shots, and Giannis just took it upon himself to say, "Hey, this is my chance to win in Milwaukee, and I'm not letting this one go."
No, it was he definitely was taking control. And I think when that really started to turn around was obviously Game 5, when they took that 3-2 lead. I'm like, this looks looking bad for the Suns. And I was all low on the Suns this whole time. I was like, you and I both were like, I think it's going to be the Suns. I think they're ready to go. I think it's time. And we couldn't be any more wrong, Brian.
we were definitely wrong.
Yeah. So hopefully you guys don't email us and just completely trash us for screwing that thing up. I mean, luckily we're not betting people. So, I mean, come on.
The Vegas odds after Suns going up, we're all Suns. But I texted my buddy after going down 3-2 in a game which you're at home in Phoenix. You had a 16-point lead, and you lost. And I texted my buddy, and I said, sorry, he's a Suns fan. And I said, sorry, the series looks to be over. And he's like, nah, we're going to win. No worries. But that obviously didn't happen. And we got to give kudos to the defense of the Bucks. The Bucks coach for making those adjustments. He made the shots. And when we watched if you go back and watch that last game, the Suns didn't get an easy shot. There was not one easy shot they put up. They were all contested. It frustrated Chris Paul, who fell short plenty of times in this playoffs. Devin Booker becomes the only player to score 40 points in back-to-back playoff games and lose both games. He was really balling out. But Game 6, he didn't show up. He only had 19 points. Chris Paul's numbers went down. He had 26 points for the final game, but he kind of disappeared. They really frustrated him this series. And kudos to Milwaukee's coach, Mike. I don't know how you say his last name. I'll probably butcher it, but he made some adjustments that forced the Suns off of their ball, and then that's ultimately what won this. And with Giannis, and coming into the series, the biggest talk was getting other people involved, making Drew Holiday beat you, making Chris Middleton step up, and Shaquille O'Neal is famous, Jeff, for saying it's about getting the others involved because he knows he's going to get his, right? And Kobe knew he was going to get his, but he's got to get the team involved, and that's exactly what Giannis did. He got his own. He got his other players involved. Chris Middleton hit shots when they needed him to hit shots, and they were able to step up and win 4 in a row. Very impressive. And this, Jeff, this might be the best closeout game I've ever seen performance from a player with Giannis doing 50 points, just taking it on his back. And he's done something only one other player has done, Jeff. And that's the great Michael Jordan, okay? Only him and Giannis have defensive award, champion award. They have the MVP of an NBA championship, an NBA championship as well. So they're the only 2 players to have all 3 of those. It's at least 2 league MVPs as well. But very kudos, man. Kudos. He's a character that you really can't dislike.
No, I don't see how anybody would dislike anything that Giannis was doing out there, putting the team on his back, making the shots that count. Obviously improving his game as the series went on, and I think that's not a lot can be said negatively about that. He did do it without having a super team,
right?
Which is kind of crazy. Granted, there's just a little bit of caveat to how those 2 teams got there, but they did get there, and I'm not going to take anything away. I don't think anybody should.
Right, definitely. They still had to show up and win those games, and they can't control what happens to their team, and they can't control who they play. And I think, when you look back at the series and you look at the teams that they had to face that were injured, will this be the Milwaukee Bucks' only chance to get there? Will this be Phoenix Suns' chance to get there to reach this point? And then that's I would say going forward, Giannis and the Bucks probably have a better shot to get through the Eastern Conference than the Suns have to do to get through the Western Conference. But you never know. Well, we'll see where Chris Paul goes. There's been rumors about him going to the Lakers and all that, and different things floating around. But we'll see where he goes. I think he would want to come back and run it back with the Suns team and a great head coach. And but who knows what will happen? And when you go back talking about Giannis didn't win it with a super team, and I think when this happens, you respect that championship a little bit more. It means a little bit more. When you look at Dirk Nowitzki's title for the Mavericks, I think that one title means way more than Kevin Durant's titles where he jumped on a super team. That's just my honest opinion. And this one, the same. He beat the Brooklyn Nets. Giannis did, the Bucks did, but and yeah, they were hurt, and if we're a one little piggy away from going home, because of Durant's foot's on the line, but this, it kind of all falls into these teams kind of were destined to be here if you believe in that type of thing with what's happened, and just this championship for Giannis puts him. He's already a Hall of Famer, but it just locks that in, and Hey, Jeff, the Milwaukee Bucks have done something the Green Bay Packers couldn't do and gets Aaron Rodgers his second ring.
I know. I heard about that.
Oh, Aaron Rodgers being part owner of the Bucks, he will receive a championship ring. So,
I mean, and also, another thing to think about as well, and I didn't even think about this either. Kevin Durant, and we were talking about Kevin Durant a second ago, and was on the same team with Russell Westbrook and James Harden when they were playing for OKC. That's nuts.
yeah.
That technically is a super team, but it was a super team built, you know what I mean? With
Right.
pieces that were already there. And they still couldn't do it, which is crazy to me. Granted, they were younger and still learning, but still, I'm just like, gosh.
Yeah, I think that is interesting. You look back at that, and I think they were so young, and Harden really hadn't fallen into what he is now. So it's interesting how it happens, but when he joined the Golden State Warriors, I lost all respect for him. I don't really care for his rings. I just don't. And for Giannis to sit here and the rumors about him leaving, is he staying? He signs the max contract. They bring in Drew Holiday. They add a couple pieces and to stay there and win one the hard way, especially when that's the way this league is nowadays, with people joining up with everybody, is very respectable. So when you go back and you look at where Giannis has come from and the hardships of his family, and there's actually a book coming out about his life and his three brothers, and interested to get a peek at that. And his three brothers all have championship rings, Jeff. So
that's pretty crazy. One of them's on the Lakers, right?
Yeah, he was on the Lakers last year, won it, and then they were kind of laughing because Giannis is like, it was a little awkward when I was sitting at the table and my brother has a ring before I do, but his other brother was on the Bucks as well, and they're nowhere near as good as Giannis is, but they played on a championship team, and that's just awesome for that family. And he's one of my favorite players to watch, man. Just fantastic series.
I think the league needs to be paying attention to some of these Euro players.
Definitely.
I think they definitely need to be paying attention to them, because these guys, they're coming in and they're cleaning the house, and they're showing people up for sure. Luka and Giannis are going to be destroying the NBA for years to come. For years to come.
And what's funny about this is the Mavericks could have had Giannis, but Mark Cuban,
they wouldn't have gotten Luka if that were
right.
The case
you wouldn't
too.
have Luka now. You would have had Giannis. So that was a question brought up on the radio. If you could go back and take Giannis and guaranteed one ring, or have just be able to draft Luka, what would you want to do? So that's
an odd comparison, because you're comparing, Luka. The odds.
It's not a comparison. It's just which one would you rather? Which one would you have? Would you want a guaranteed championship and Giannis, or what Luka's future holds? And it's an interesting conversation. But
but I mean, who's to say you're not going to have a championship with Luka? I mean,
I know, but that's the risk you take. Do you want to? That's the whole dilemma.
I would take Luka over Giannis, not because I don't think Giannis is any good. He's definitely amazing, but I think in terms of Luka, he sees the game in a different way. Probably, I think he has more of the. It's hard to I don't like comparing people to like icons, but if I were to say like he has an eye of the game, and I think he has the work ethic of the game similar to like Kobe, right? Where Kobe saw the game in a different way. Like he was able to pick apart defenses. He was able to like make the game at his pace, his way. And And then his work ethic was just like, bam, like he was just always working. If he didn't do something right, he went back and he honed in on it and tried to make it better. And I think Luka has that kind of work ethic. I mean, as soon as the season was over, what is Luka doing? He's playing with Slavia. I mean, it's just, he doesn't have to. He could easily be like, I'm hurt. I'd rather just rest until the next season. Doesn't bother me one bit, but he wants to continue playing. And I see Luka as a player like that, where no matter what, even if he's on the off season, he's going to still be working. He's not going to be partying. He's not going to be, I don't think Luka's that kind of guy.
Well, if you had to ask me the question of who would you rather have, and I take Luka too. And I think for one main reason is I think Giannis, the position he plays, he has to rely more on other players to get the job done, where Luka doesn't have to rely on as much help as Giannis would.
Yeah.
But,
I agree, because, I mean, if you look at the games that they won, the other team had to produce as well. And they did.
Right. Yeah.
And they did.
And when they fell short, Giannis tried all his best, but they,
right.
They didn't win the game. So
yeah, he was the only one doing stuff. So,
I'm going to take time here, Jeff, to congratulate the Phoenix Suns for getting as far as they did. No one expected them to be here. They're here. They fell short. But I'm gonna call out my buddy Emmanuel Delgado, and I hope he listens to this. Man, all Manuel did was complain about the refs all series. That's all he did. Okay, and and he goes off on the refs the night that they lost this championship. And he's like, dude, did you even watch the game? The refs, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, dude, stop. Take your loss like a man. Quit making excuses. I went back and I watched that game, Jeff, and the Suns couldn't hit the red side of a barn, okay? That both teams came out really flat. They came out missing shots left and right. Devin Booker only scored 19 points. You didn't get easy shots. Every shot you put up was a hand in your face and seemed to be forced. So don't give me this referee crap. Handle your loss like a man, and that's it. I don't know what else I can say, man. If you go look at his Facebook, it's all just refs. I'm like, did refs give Giannis 50 points? Emmanuel, did they give Giannis 50 points? Quit trying to take away from it. I know your team lost. It stinks for you. But hold your head up high. At least you made it there, and we'll see what happens in the future. But that's all I got to say about that.
Yeah, it's, the team, nobody expected any of these two teams to even be there. So there's no sense in getting, it sucks. Trust me, coming from, a Bronco player who watched my team get completely dismantled by the Seahawks. It sucks. But your team is good. They're young. They're talented. They are going to probably be here longer than LeBron is going to be playing for the Lakers. Your team will still be good. They have young talent on there that got to that point. So they're going to still be a force to be reckoned with in the league. So there's nothing to be stressed out about. It sucks. It happened, but you know what? They're young. That's all you can ask for. You want a young, talented team that went all the way to the finals.
And they got a young head coach that just won Coach of the Year.
Yep.
They're set up for success. So, but fantastic finals. I don't know what else you could ask for there. And the playoffs were fantastic, and the finals going forward. So now it's all about free agent rumors, about NBA and all that good stuff. But that's really all we got for the spotlight of the week. We're going to jump into the headlines now. We got a little bit of everything. We actually have some breaking NFL news, and as we go forward, you'll see a lot more NFL stories take over the podcast, because it's getting that point where teams are back in camp, and we're still figuring out what the heck Aaron Rodgers' petty self is going to be doing. But Jeff, did you hear the breaking news today that the NFL will make teams forfeit if they have an outbreak of COVID and you didn't reach, if you're one of the teams that didn't reach the 85% vaccination status and your team has an outbreak and that game cannot be rescheduled for the end of the season, you will be forced to forfeit a game. What is your take on that? Are you there, Jeff?
Say it one more time, Brian. I was distracted.
Well, we can edit this out.
Go ahead. Say it one more time because it sounds like it sounded insane, but I'd love to hear it again. Just to make sure. Just to be sure that I heard it correctly.
All right, Jeff, one more time for you here. So the NFL comes out today with breaking news that's ruffled a lot of feathers. They have made it official that if your team has a COVID outbreak and this said team is not one of the teams that has reached the 85% vaccination status and the game, if it cannot be rescheduled, you will forfeit a game. You will give up a loss because you refuse to take the vaccination. Jeff, I want your thoughts first on this. So I'll leave you the mic.
Well, this is how I look at it. It is up to the teams to stress to the players to do whatever they need to do. Like we were talking about the last episode. If there's a rule, as crazy as it sounds, right? We were talking about the Olympics. We were talking about the whole marijuana thing, but it's a rule. Do we think that maybe the athlete has a freedom to do what she wants? Sure. But it is a rule. Now, if the league says, hey, this is what we're doing, obviously, in terms of the teams, collective teams that make all the decisions, they seem to all agree. So it's just kind of interesting that such a stipulation is in place. Now, because such a stipulation is in place, I wonder how many people are going to actually try to bend or break that rule to test how serious the league is. We'll see. If let's say it's the Bucks, are they serious? It's Tom Brady. Everybody loves Tom Brady, especially Roger Goodell, right? The league loves Tom Brady because he's their icon. He is their mascot. Will they care if it's somebody like a Tom Brady, or would they care if it's somebody on Tampa Bay? Would they make Tampa Bay lose a game because of that? Now, if it's a team they don't care about, do you think they're going to sweat any bullets if it was the Broncos? Probably not. You think they're going to sweat any bullets if it was the Jets? No. No, not at all. But that's my question is as to, it's kind of weird. It's a strange rule. It sucks that a team would have to, but no one's going to want to break it. No one's going to test that out. Nobody wants to lose games, for no reason. Without even stepping foot on a field. Nobody wants to lose games. It's just
exactly. And why you were talking, Jeff, I decided to look up, and I didn't know if you could be able to find this, but there are 13 NFL teams. It's almost half the league that hasn't hit the 85% mark. And of course, they don't have them in a list here.
Yeah. I think I heard somebody, was it on the Cardinals? Maybe. I saw an article earlier today talking about some player said that he doesn't want to get the vaccine, and he feels like they're forcing him to get the vaccine, and they're threatening. That's with the whole rule in place, I guess, and everything. But I don't remember what player that was. I want to say it was from the Cardinals. Not quite sure though.
Yeah, it was DeAndre Hopkins said he was
okay.
He was really contemplating his future Look,
yeah, he's even talking about like leaving the NFL, and I'm like, I don't know if it would be that serious as to completely retire. You know what I mean? I'm like, that's a little much.
I don't know. I don't know. I think it's unfair for this rule.
But it's a rule.
It is a rule.
It's a rule,
and it is consequences. And I get it you can look at it from both sides. The NFL's a business, and these games got to go on safely, and they feel like that this is the way to go. Now you're putting players in a horrible position. You're putting in players that don't want to get the vaccine, and letting your teammates down and costing them a game, maybe 2 games. It depends. What if the same team has this outbreak and they can't play in 2 weeks in a row? You're gonna throw 2 losses up there for them, and just to feel like you let your team. It's a complicated situation. But look, the NFL's been pushing to go get vaccinated. Everyone's been pushing to go get vaccinated.
Yeah, and on top of all that, it's also. I mean, you're playing in the NFL. You're contact sport. Very, very physically heavy. And then top it all off. I mean, you don't know what other people's situations are at their home, right? I mean, you probably have NFL players that are autoimmune compromised or immune compromised. Maybe somebody in their household's immune compromised. Some of these people have kids that probably have, some illness that is, if they get it, they're going to be messed up. And so it's like you're kind of playing with that a little bit too. So it's just, you never know what somebody's situation is behind the scenes in their everyday life. And when you're playing a sport, and then you potentially probably have something and don't know about it or don't know you have it, and then you give it to someone, and then they go home and their wife gets sick, deathly sick, or their kid gets deathly sick. That's kind of what I think the league trying to avoid, which I get. Because I mean, ultimately football's a game, a sport, right? It's fun. It's exciting. Everybody loves it. There's adrenaline. There's all this stuff. There's, excitement around it. But in the end of the day, these people go home, to their families. So I think if you put into that perspective, if the league's wanting to make sure that that is something that doesn't happen, I mean, it is what it is. It's probably not going to be like this forever, but at least for now, at least for this season, it seems like it's just going to be the par for the course, so to speak.
Well, here, I don't know, Jeff. I don't. My real beliefs is I don't think anybody should ever be forced to be vaccinated for anything. Well,
like
period.
for example, people in the medical field have to, right? Or like, I think the thing is you're under contract with an organization who is then managed by the National Football League, who are then run by, very wealthy people, right? And they make rules and regulations and whatever. And so like, like I said, I mean, if DeAndre Hopkins is like, this isn't what I want, I'm out. Well, then, I mean, the NFL is going to continue on. Right.
No, I definitely get that. But what I'm saying, they're not serious. They're not sitting here and holding you down and inject a needle in your arm.
Right.
But I'm just glad I live in a state where we won't ever be forced to take a vaccine.
Oh, I don't think anyone will force it, but you're working for an organization. Right. You're getting paid millions and millions and millions of dollars. It's kind of like somebody sitting there complaining like, oh, blah, 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 blah. And they're in their mansion. And I'm just like, what are you complaining about? Like, you are getting paid millions of dollars that most people wish they could be doing. Right. I mean, if somebody was like, hey, you can go play in the NFL, but you have to get a COVID shot. Okay. You mean I can go play and make millions of dollars? Sure. Sign me up.
Well, it depends on
I
how
don't
good
care.
you are if you're making those millions.
Well, I mean, come on. How much money do you think DeAndre Hopkins has made in his career, Brian?
Oh, millions. Of course.
Okay.
'Cause he's great.
So, I mean, would you trade that for a coach on? Come on. Are you kidding?
Some people's, I'm not getting vaccinated.
Or Brian, would you trade?
Well, you can't ask me that question because, of
I
course,
mean,
a broke man like me is going.
Of
I would do anything
course.
for billions of dollars.
Of course.
But you're talking to a guy that's already got. You're talking to players that already have a lot of money.
Right. So if they're that upset, then go, because the NFL is going to continue
pressured to get a shot when that shouldn't be the case.
Right.
Period.
But the team say it has to be 100% people. 100%.
No, it's 85.
85%. Okay, that's not very much.
Which apparently Jerry Jones. Well, that's quite a bit. But apparently Jerry Jones can't do the math the other day. Did you hear about that? He said that only 5 people, and he said only 5 haven't got the shot. But the Cowboys aren't under the 85%. So I'm like, if that doesn't add up, because if only 5 people haven't got the shot, Jerry, then your team would be way past the 85% threshold. So I was like, we're like, what? That's a little weird.
I look at it like this. It's kind of like, and I tell my wife this all the time. She's like, how come paparazzi run around and chase celebrities? And I'm like, they signed up for it. She's like, yeah, but I'm like, they signed up for it. You have no anonymity anymore. Like, as soon as you become famous, that's it. You're watched, and completely, you don't have the same freedoms as somebody who's not in the public eye, like you or me. And so I think with DeAndre Hopkins, it's like, dude, ultimately he's not going to, he may not change the needle on what's going on with the freaking Cardinals. But, if he's going to act that way, then what are the Cardinals going to do? Lose a game? No.
I'm just interested to see how.
But I guarantee you, no one's going to test it. No one's going to test it.
Well, I'm sure there were players who became positive last year, and they kind of hushed it under the table. So,
well, I'm sure that they probably did. There's probably things of that. No, well, we know that because it happened to the Broncos. Like all the quarterbacks got it. So,
well, yeah, but they
had a wide receiver. We had a wide receiver that had to play quarterback.
No, I'm talking about. Oh, Patrick Mahomes tested positive. We need to hide this test because we can't have Patrick Mahomes or Tom Brady, like you talked about earlier, missing a playoff game because of it.
Yeah,
So.
It depends though. I don't know about Tom Brady because it seems like Tom Brady would be very like closed off. Like I don't think he would be. I think it would be different than like when Dak and Zeke were running around partying it up and having block parties at the house.
Well,
like I think
you can get COVID going to the grocery store.
I don't think going where?
Going to a grocery store.
Do you really think Tom Brady's going to a grocery store?
Tom Brady is not just closed up in his house, not moving off.
When that was going on, I guarantee you Tom Brady was probably at home, and his home was probably a mansion, Brian. So it's
Tom
not like
Brady was at a park breaking protocol rules during that time, throwing the football with people. That
after they won the Super Bowl, right?
News. No, this is before. This is when they were practicing last year, and he actually got caught breaking COVID protocol rules before the season. Actually, out practicing. I don't know with who, but throwing the football with somebody. So. I'm just saying, Jeff, you can get COVID anywhere you go.
Yeah, and I get that, but it's like the NFL doesn't want to deal with it. And if the NFL makes a rule, then
they have to follow it.
Think about it this way: who all votes for the rules?
Well, it's the owners of the NFL, and it's the Players Association as well who also accepted these.
It's the PA, it's the owners, and it's the NFL itself, right? The actual organization itself. So we're mad at who? Mad at Jerry? right? Are we mad at Kraft? I mean, the players.
I'm not mad at anybody. I don't play in the NFL.
It's like the Players Association. I mean,
they're probably mad at the Players Association for accepting this rule in the first place.
I mean, obviously, some of the players agreed to it.
Some of it, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it wasn't DeAndre Hopkins, obviously, but a lot of his teammates probably did. So, I mean, It's like you weigh out the majority versus the minority, and it's like, okay, the minority is probably going to lose out. Majority is probably going to win out, and that's typically how voting works, so to speak. So it's like when you're ran by a players association, and then the owners run the other part of it. The owners vote majority one way, the Players Association vote majority the other way too. There's going to be some people that are like, "Hey, that's not what I wanted." It's like, well, the majority ruled there.
No, I get that, but when the star like DeAndre Hopkins or if Aaron Rodgers or someone that hold a lot more power behind their name says something, it brings some interest. It brings some topics here on our podcast show. So
right, yeah,
I don't mind it.
I don't think an Aaron Rodgers or like a Patrick Mahomes or even a Tom Brady would come out and even say that. Those guys are so like, they're so not cookie cutter, but they're so, this is the NFL's iconic image of this, and they're never going to go outside that box.
Well, I don't got anything good to say about Aaron Rodgers right now.
Aaron Rodgers can say things. Aaron Rodgers can say things that aren't on his mind, but he's not going to go and say things like that, like what DeAndre Hopkins said.
Let's go ahead and move on to the next one, Jeff. A big blow to the Rams as they lost Cam Akers to miss the entire season. He tore his Achilles while practicing and training. This is a huge loss for them. They traded. They had a big offseason. They traded and got Matthew Stafford, bringing in a quarterback, and really has to prove himself on a winning team. Cam Akers missed a lot of last year, if not all of last year as well, with an injury. He missed most of last year, if I'm not mistaken. But he is a great running back. He's a good running back. He runs hard. Really good running back for them, and he's going to be missed out there in Los Angeles. And big blow for them, but they'll have to figure out what they're going to do at the running back position, because without Cam Akers, I don't know who else is going to be carrying that kind of load.
Yeah, there's been rumors that they've been tied to some of the Bronco, in particular, Royce Freeman. So I don't know if there's anything to that. McVay said that they're not looking into going and grabbing somebody right now outside and putting them in for the time being.
I don't know who the backups are, but
yeah, I mean, I don't know. Royce Freeman's pretty good. The Broncos are kind of stacked already. We have a lot of wide receivers. I mean, a lot of running backs. So
where did Lindsey go?
He became a free agent.
Was he picked up by? I know. Where was he picked up by anybody?
Tennessee, I think.
Just wondering.
Let's see. But yeah, like I think the Broncos are pretty stacked in that category. So, barring injury, I could see a potential trade before the deadline if they really, really need a running back, and especially if they're doing well. Obviously they have a new quarterback, so I'm sure it's going to be very exciting. But you can't just rely on quarterback play. You got to have something to accommodate that as well.
Definitely, that was a big blow, but for them. And Cam Akers, I really liked him. Lindsey is with the Houston Texans.
Okay, I don't know why I thought
which
Tennessee.
Is bad. Ooh.
Probably a reason I probably said Tennessee is because I was thinking of the Oilers.
Could be. All right, Jeff. This list popped up the other day. I thought we kind of go through it here. Everyone loves a good list. It's a list of the top 10 quarterbacks that they have. We're going to just name the top 10 and kind of see what we think about it here. So number 10 is Kyle Murray, the Arizona Cardinals. Number 9 is Justin Herbert, making the top 10 already. He's a rookie last year. He played really good, better than I expected. And to have him in the top 10, Okay, I mean that puts a lot of pressure on him this season to produce better, to be better for his team. So we'll see. I really like them coming out of college.
By the way, who came up with the list?
I don't remember. I think it was.
Was it like
it was an ESPN article? I think.
Okay. I was just curious. I didn't know where it came from.
Yeah, I forgot. I need to start writing that stuff down. Number 8 is Lamar Jackson. You got number 7, Dak Prescott. Number 6, Matthew Stafford. Number 5 is Josh Allen. 4 is Russell Wilson, and then Tom Brady, and then Aaron Rodgers, and then Patrick Mahomes.
There's some shockers on here.
I don't have a shocker until number 6. I think the first 5 are just about where they want to be. I don't know if Tom Brady's the number 3 quarterback. I think he gets put up there just because of it's Tom Brady, but his actual play and stats and everything, I don't think he's number 3. But I mean, he's going to be in the top 3.
Where would you put him then? I mean, I would think Russell Wilson and Tom Brady seem like makes sense.
I would put Tom Brady at number 5. I would put Tom Brady behind Russell Wilson and Josh Allen.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Tom Brady is good. Don't get me wrong. I'm not here to bash Tom Brady, but he's not as good as he used to be.
Yeah, I can see that. Josh Allen's younger.
He's got legs. He is the up and coming player. Russell Wilson, I think, is better. But it's just, you're just opinions. Matthew Stafford at 6 is interesting. He's always a quarterback that's been good. And this is the year, Jeff, for him to prove. I've always been a fan of Matthew Stafford. And I played for Detroit, and I don't like the Lions, but I always thought he was a good quarterback. And when you play for the Lions, you get that kind of what would you say? You get that, oh, well, he plays for the Lions, so, it can't, how good can they be? He's playing for Detroit. They're holding him back. So this is the year to prove that he's got this offense that's good. He's got a great defense. And this is the year that we're going to see if Matthew Stafford actually has something or if he's not as good as we thought he was. So a big year for him out there in Los Angeles. Dak Prescott is 7. Lamar Jackson at 8. I'm not big on Lamar Jackson, but I don't think he's a good quarterback. He can run. He doesn't throw the ball particularly too well.
I know a lot of Cowboy fans will be pretty frustrated with number 7s. 7 with Dak Prescott. I don't think they would look at it. I think they would look at it and like that Dak Prescott's better than Matthew Stafford, better than Josh Allen.
He's not better than Josh Allen, so you can't even compare that, in my opinion.
I know that Cowboy fans will definitely compare that.
I think Dak Prescott's top 10. Where you put him in the top 10 is questionable. Justin Herbert being up in the top 10 already is a little questionable. Maybe it's because he's exceeded expectations. This is a guy that came out of college came out of college that they didn't expect him to start year 1, and he got to start because of a fluke health injury, Tyrod Taylor, and he never gave the ball back because he was playing so well. So maybe the shock factor of him being so pretty good so far. Joe Burrow, honorable mention maybe in the top 10. He missed a lot of last year, though, with a injury, so I don't know if you could throw him in this list.
That's small sample size. It's not enough yet, though.
So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But just these quarterback lists are always interesting to see who they have.
I guarantee you that Cowboy fans think that they should be 6th.
That's their opinions, Jeff. But
I mean, do you think that Matthew Stafford's better than Dak?
Yes. If you're asking me who I would take to start my franchise today, Matt Stafford or Dak, I'm taking Dak because he's younger and more mobility. But if you're asking me who's better at throwing the football, it's Matthew Stafford.
Okay.
But I think the top 5 is pretty much spot on, except I'd move Tom Brady down to number 4, number 5. Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the league. Aaron Rodgers was the best quarterback last year at MVP, but he's number 2. I could see that fine. Russell Wilson's a really good quarterback. So pretty interesting. What are your thoughts on Lamar Jackson?
It makes
That's always
sense.
a heated debate with Lamar
It makes
Jackson.
sense. I always thought he was more of a leg guy than an arm guy. I think that he's also very he has to know what he's going to do before he does it. And I think that there's a difference between like him or like a Patrick Mahomes who will on the fly kind of come up with something if something breaks down. And I think Lamar Jackson, as soon as it breaks down, he wants to run.
Yeah, he's more of a one read, maybe two read quarterback.
Yeah,
he's
and I think quarterbacks like that have a ceiling of Cam Newton. Possibly.
Let me take this. I don't know if it's a hot take here, but he won't ever win the Super Bowl, Jeff. It won't ever happen.
He may get to one. Maybe. Possibly.
I don't know.
I'd say he may get to one.
I don't know.
Win
I don't
one,
think he ever touches the Super Bowl.
Win one, I don't know. But get to one, maybe. It's possible.
All right, Jeff, that's the top 10 list of quarterbacks. So we'll see how that kind of goes into the season and see what happens. A little more of a NFL news here is more of the broadcasting side is Peyton Manning and Eli Manning will headline alternate Monday Night Football broadcast. They'll do 10 games a season for the next 3 seasons, and they'll bring on special guests and have different people on as well. I'm interested to see Peyton. I don't know about Eli, but I'm interested to see about Peyton Manning. And I think this is kind of him dipping his toe in the water to see how good he is at broadcasting. But I think it'll be fantastic. He's intelligent. He's likable. I don't know anybody that doesn't like him personally.
I hate
Eli
him.
Manning, you might have to warm up.
I hate him.
You might have to warm up to Eli Manning. I don't know, but I like it. I like Peyton Manning, so I've always been a big fan of his. So I mean, you played him a lot, and then he was your quarterback too. So.
Yeah, we lost by him a lot too.
A love-hate situation there.
It really was. When we got him, I was like, but he's good. Okay. So this is a bittersweet a little bit. One hand, it's cool. It's cool that he's doing this because it makes sense. The other hand, there's been a lot of rumors about what's going on with the Bronco ownership because the Bolin family cannot agree on who's going to run the team. It's looking more and more likely that they're going to sell. So a lot of people assume, okay, well, if they're going to sell, who are they going to sell to? Could be a group, right? If it's a group, a lot of people really would love to see Peyton involved because he does have roots here. I think he lives here. Ever since he came to play here, I think he's fell in love with the state. So he has some businesses here, I think. So it's just kind of interesting because I don't know what this would mean if all of a sudden, let's say that the Broncos are sold to a group and the group says they want Peyton to be the player of director of operations, team operations, or like what John Elway did. So this is kind of a bittersweet. It's cool, but in the back of my mind, I'm like, man, I really hope this guy does something within the organization. But yeah, I guess can still do this. I don't know if that's possible or not, but if it's like a conflict of interest or something. But
yeah, he wouldn't be able to do that and do this. I think he's really wanted to do this for a while. But I just think this is kind of dipping his toes in, and it's set up for the next 3 seasons. So this might be it for him until maybe he joins with the Broncos or somewhere. So I'm not really interested in him. And
I know he's tied to the team. Like he's always mentoring, around here, mentoring players. So he's like always within reach of the building, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah,
but yeah, he's there. I mean, the NFL really loves Peyton Manning. He's their poster child. Like they're not gonna.
He's a guy that I turn on to watch. I loved watching him play, and I didn't have to play him very often, so maybe that's why I feel a little bit better about it. But
yeah,
he's a guy that played the game the right way and a legend. So Couldn't have a better person.
Yeah.
The next headline here is the NHL, Jeff. And we don't talk a lot of NHL on this podcast. You know, I'm not a big NHL guy. You're not a big NHL guy. But this is something that's kind of cool, and you don't see a lot of it. They started their own. They started a team up in Seattle, and it actually has a really awesome name. They're called the Seattle Kraken. Release the Krakens, right? And they had their draft this week, and it's just interesting. So I thought I'd put it in here. I really like the mascot. I like their name. But, you know, I had to throw it in here. I said, this is something we don't see a lot. And they do one of the drafts where they get to draft players from around the league. And so I just thought I wanted to put that as an honorable mention here on the headlines.
No, like that's pretty cool. I know that there's not a lot in the Pac Northwest when it comes to sports. So, I mean, I think all Seattle really had they had two teams for a long time until the Supersonics went to Oklahoma, and then that's all. And after that, all they've had was the Seahawks. So, and then in terms of like outside of that, what's odd to me is that the Pac Northwest is like huge into soccer, right? Portland is like a big soccer town. You wouldn't think that because of Trailblazers, but I never saw as many fans go crazy over soccer in my life when I lived there than when I lived there. So like, I know that there's like a big rivalry between the two soccer teams between Seattle and Portland, for sure. So it's pretty cool that they're getting a new team. I know there's all these rumors going around that the MLB is thinking about doing an extended team, adding another team to the league. And Portland is on one of the short lists of that, which would be perfect. Even location wise would be perfect. And the weird part is that Russell Wilson is part of that group to spearhead that. So there's a very big possibility. And there used to be a baseball team in Portland. It was a minor league team that did really well. I think Russell Crowe played baseball on that team. Macho Man Randy Savage played on that team.
That's cool.
Yeah. So, Macho Man Randy Savage was a baseball player before he ever wrestled. But yeah,
I heard they're talking about bringing the Expos back as well.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. Yeah. So, I mean, if baseball, that'd be a perfect place to have, especially the Pac Northwest, because they haven't had a lot other than the Trailblazers and the Seahawks. So
nice. It's
good to see that.
Yeah, I like it. And like I said, I love the name, the Kraken. And so it goes right along with that area.
Oh, yeah.
Jeff, the Olympics, they've started. I don't know when the beginning ceremony is. I think that's sometime this week.
Tomorrow.
But they could be. Is it tomorrow?
Wait, today's the 22nd. Is it today?
It might be. I'm not sure. I'm not really big into watching all the Olympics. I watch some things, but Jeff, we might not be able to watch it at all because they're talking about a last minute cancellation because of the COVID outbreak over there is it Tokyo, I believe, this year? And
yes,
so it might be canceled. They were talking about it a couple weeks ago about how Tokyo has called for another state of emergency because the numbers there have gotten so high. And I said, well, if that's going on, I don't see how you can have an Olympics. There's no fans at these events, but it just doesn't make any sense if there's that much risk to be risking it for the Olympics.
It's tomorrow.
And
yeah. So by the way, the opening ceremony, if the opening ceremony happens, it is tomorrow.
I feel bad if you're going to feel bad for sports during this pandemic and taking the blows that it has, and you got to feel bad for the Olympic teams. And these are guys and girls that they train and they battle and they fight and They work hard for something they do every 4 years. So just imagine getting pumped up for this and getting training done and doing the things you need to do to be ready in 4 years. And when that 4 year comes, they're like, we got to postpone it. We're going to postpone it until next year. And then that year comes and they're talking about canceling it again. And it's got to be very frustrating. And it's got to be something, because you don't get a lot of chances to go to the Olympics. Your window of peak athleticism isn't for a long time, most people. So it's tough for them, man. That's got to be tough, very tough.
These people train for a very long time, and I think that's one of the reasons why we're at least trying to show it, or trying to have it now. And then it's weird because it says 2020 Olympics, and it's like, obviously it's 2021, but it's so weird to see that because
they didn't market. They didn't change any of the marketing because they spent money on it.
And some of this is money, right? There's a lot of money that has been put into it.
Millions.
Not only from, the Olympic organization, the Olympic committee and all that kind of stuff, but obviously, the city of Tokyo. A lot of that stuff, you have to house these people. You have to feed them. You have to make sure the facilities are intact. You have to make sure, there's enough for, all these things. There's all these things and barriers you have to go through. So not only that, there's also broadcasters. You have TV money being thrown around too. People want to a lot of the big stations want to broadcast the final soccer games if the U.S. is in the finals. ESPN does some stuff as well. So it's interesting because you have basketball that's involved, you have soccer that's involved, you have all these other sports that are a big deal. And then in terms of like gymnastics, I think usually that's tele broadcast on NBC. And a lot of the Olympic stuff's broadcast on NBC most of the time. I don't know if they're still working with NBC this year or not, but it's a lot of broadcasting money that they probably lost a lot last year, and they're going to try their hardest to at least get through this, because I think it's from the 23rd to the 8th of August. So it sucks, but what are you going to do?
All right, Jeff. Well, I teased a video before we get into our lockers coming up here. I teased a video about some big news we had coming for the site and for this podcast. And
well, hang on 1 minute. I got to bring a topic that we have not talked about.
Did you read the chat that I sent you? Read the chat. I sent a chat in here. We can edit this part out, but.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But Jeff, before we get into what's in my locker this week, I teased a video about some news we had coming for this podcast, and some exciting news. Jeff is creating a website for this podcast, so I'm gonna let Jeff talk about it a little bit since he's working on it.
Yeah. So, it's going to be a easier way for us to promote the podcast, as opposed to, putting a long link in our social posts and stuff to Buzzsprout. As great as that is, it would be nice to have an actual website with the actual podcast name that goes directly to a channel that kind of has little things that will send you to Buzzsprout, or will send you to, your podcast of your choice, service of your choice. And that way, we have, and then also I have on there ways for you can actually listen to like the last 5 episodes that we've posted. So as we post episodes, they will populate on there as well, which is kind of nice. You can, people who were curious can go and try it out and see what they think. It's just an easier way for us to say, hey, go to suchandsuch.com for more information about the podcast, or if you have any questions, we'll put a forum up there, which you can ask a question, and then it'll go directly to the email address, to Brian's email address, and then we can address it here on the actual show itself when we come up during the week. So and so that would be something, another way for y'all to interact with us, an easy way for y'all to interact with us, just by going to a website, So and other than that, the site is just going to have links to our social stuff as well. So it's just going to be just overall, it's an easier way to promote the podcast. It's an easier way for you all to find us, as opposed to, if all of a sudden we mention the podcast, maybe you forget about it. If you have it inside our actual links and stuff like that actually say the name of the actual website, then you can go to it and exactly what you're doing. That way it's always set there. But yeah, we've also thought, and I've done some research and found out that actually having a site itself is better for people to find you as well. So if somebody searches the podcast name, they're going to find the website. That should be one of the first things they see. So yeah, in terms of growing and helping more people find the show, this is another way of helping more people find the show. So it's not too hard. I'm just using like a template. I'm not going anything insane. I'm not creating new, my own code or anything like that. I'm just doing something simple. It's going to be a simple podcast or simple podcasting website with not a whole lot of frills, but the content is worthy content. And it's more of the meat of what our podcast is about, as opposed to a lot of fluff.
Yeah, we're super excited for that to come out, and we will let you guys know when that is ready. And we've got some other news, to tease, some other changes coming, which is good. So we'll put that out here in a couple weeks or so from now. But unless you want to add more to that,
it's just going to be something that I think ties everything about the podcast up. It's going to be something that it's something simple. It's not anything extreme. We're not changing the format. We're not nothing. I think the format is perfect the way we have it. I think the format works. We talk about one of the main topics at the very beginning of the show. Then we go into our new stuff. And I like that format. I think people really appreciate that, because sometimes podcasts will start off and they'll just ramble and they won't get to the main topic, and we tackle the main topic at the very beginning. So I think it's going to be a very slight, different change that I think none of y'all will notice it until when you see it, you'll see it, and that'll be that. And it'll be really that simple. You won't really, it's not going to affect how you get the podcast. It's not going to affect how we present the content to you at all. So no, it's going to be very slight, but it's going to be you'll see it and it'll make sense when you see it.
All right, Jeff.
And I have one more thing, and I don't know if you didn't address this or not. And I know you said you took something off, but this is something I think is very important. There was an incident that happened last week that was troublesome. And I talked about it on our social platforms. And it's regarding Richard Sherman.
Oh, I forgot to add that in there, didn't I?
So I'm gonna, I have, and I'm gonna let her. I'm gonna mute my mic, okay? And I have an audio clip of Richard Sherman blowing up. Okay. Now I'm gonna bring down the volume a little bit, but I want to let the listeners hear it. Okay. And then we can talk about it right after, because I have a feeling as to something's obviously terribly wrong with him. He's not in the right state of mind, but I'm going to play real quick. Okay. So
Ooh.
that was
what-
that was a lot.
Yeah. So what you heard was Richard Sherman trying to break down the door. I'm where his wife and kids were. I'm guessing his kids were there. I think they were. I don't know who Ray is.
I think that
Very disturbing.
Ray, it seems like, is his wife's father.
I think
it's
so.
his father-in-law, from what I heard. So it's obviously this shows an intoxicated Richard Sherman. He, at one point in the video, and you're not going to be able to see this, y'all are listening, but what I played was a video clip, and you just heard the audio part of it. In the video, there's when you hear the banging. That's him pushing against the door, like physically trying to break the door down. As he walks away, he looks like he slips. That's a stumble from being intoxicated. He's very he stumbles too at the end. So you can tell he's not in his right state of mind. There's also a 911. If anybody wants to go on YouTube and find that, there's a 911 audio recording of his wife calling the police and saying that he's trying to leave the house. He's trying to get in his car and he's trying to go. If y'all want to look at it, I'll try to put the link in the show notes. That way you can kind of, if you want to click on it, go to it, you can. But it's disturbing because the dispatcher, she's really rude to his wife, and I'm like, that is mean. Like, his wife is scared. She's scared for him. She's scared for if he, he's threatening to challenge the police. So that's another.
He's getting charged with what is it? Evading arrest.
Yeah. She was trying to get him from to prevent him from leaving because she knew that if he left, it would just be worse. And I felt bad because the dispatcher was, I don't see how somebody can be rude to somebody that's going through. And she was very distraught. I mean, completely. Like, she just did not understand what was going on. At one point she said, Richard. And she was like, he's trying to leave the gate. And the lady's like, what are you talking about, a gate? And she had to sit there and say, it's Richard Sherman.
Yeah.
So this is a lot. I think some of this is obviously he's got a substance abuse problem. I don't know if there's also mental issues going on there. I'm sure there is. You talk about a player who's great. He's a great player. I mean, he, puts all on the line. You never heard anything going on with him other than on the field stuff. Him and Crabtree going at it. Richard Sherman talks trash on the field, but every player does.
Like he's his NFL career is over.
Yes,
I don't think he gets picked up again, and he was not very good last season. He was okay, but he's old and older for his position. And this is a guy that's very smart, Jeff. He is his own agent. He doesn't want anybody to be his agent. He makes that money instead of the agent, and he also very I think he's very or was close to the or a member of the NFLPA Players Association a while back, and he's very smart.
Yeah,
but he made a mistake here, big time. I don't know if we want to say he has mental health issues. I just think he made a bad decision under the influence of whatever he was on, alcohol, drugs, whatever, and made a poor decision. This is not something that is like Richard Sherman, but he's being charged with 4 or 5 accounts here. So we'll see what happens to him. But I think he just basically ended his NFL career.
Yeah, I think so too. I can't deny that at all. And I don't know. I don't know if it, the substance usually, for the most part, when somebody has substance abuse problems, they're dealing with something. Not to throw anyone under the bus, and I'm not going to put any names out there, but there are family members of my own who have had alcohol problems, typically related to can't deal with things. Okay. So I think if it's just life stuff, I don't know. Maybe it's the fact that his career's done. Maybe it's the fact that nobody's picked him. I don't think anybody's picked him up before all this happened. I don't think he signed with a team.
No, he hadn't. And,
so
he's an aging cornerback and who has Super Bowl champion, and he's had a great, fantastic career.
Yeah.
That slipped my mind when we have a week off. Sometimes some of the headlines kind of slip through, but
this was a big one. And I just wanted to make sure and get it out there and just talk about it at least. I feel bad for his wife.
And his kids.
And his kids. Yeah. And it's unfortunate. I mean, not to say anything, but I kind of get where they're coming from, if you know what I mean. So I think that's why I had to talk about this. So not to get into any of my personal stuff or anything like that, but I get where they're coming from, where his wife's coming from, where his kids would be coming from. So, yeah. So I had to talk about that. And I wanted the audience to hear it, obviously, because
I'm glad you got that audio.
Yeah. Yeah. So. I downloaded it as we were doing the podcast.
All right, Jeff, it is that time for me to ask you the question of what's in your locker this week, brother?
Oh, man. Well, baseball. The Yankees are finally somehow have woken up. They are about to start a 3-game set against Boston. They just beat Boston 2-3. One of the games was actually canceled, due to COVID. There were a number of Yankee players that got COVID, including Judge. And so, the Yankees were kind of crippled a little bit going into that series. And a lot of young talent came alive, stealing the bases, getting base hits, getting doubles, getting home runs. I mean, it was complete baseball. So they're young guys that no one's ever heard of before. And I think that's pretty cool. I like to see stuff like that. So they have been doing very well. We just took 2 games away from the Phillies. We walked them off yesterday, and we're starting another 3-game set. They are 3 or 4 game set with Boston, and then we have Tampa Bay. So these are going to be very important series. And I'm glad they're playing hard, because this is a make or break for the season. If we do not win these games against these division rivals, season's pretty much over. So outside of that, I have some really interesting news regarding The Last of Us, and in particular, the Last of Us TV series that's coming on HBO. So this is gonna sound crazy. If anybody's a gamer, if anybody listening, we had a couple of episodes talking about this video game, in particular, going in depth with the second part of it that released recently. So this show is already starting production. Matter of fact, they're starting to shoot the show now. This show is going to be one of the most expensive series HBO's ever produced.
Love it.
This is going to cost more than Game of Thrones.
Yes.
Which is insane. This is a 10 episode series. And it's at least $10 million or more. That's just the rumor, is that it's more than $10 million an episode. This budget is crazy. And that only means good things. That means that you're going to get a quality show. It's going to be high production value. It's going to be absolutely awesome. I wanted to get that out there because that is one of the things that has been on my mind. I know they're filming in Canada, I think. So this is going to be fun. I cannot wait for this show to start. This is going to be, I think, the one time where where finally video games become part of cinema, and for a good thing, not for bad, not like the Mario movie, or like, other junk video game movies that have come out. I will say the Witcher series on Netflix is pretty good. So I think this is hopeful I'm more hopeful for this than I am the Uncharted movie, personally. I have to say it. I'm more hopeful for the Last of Us series than I am for the Uncharted movie. So that is, at least right now, that's what's in my locker. That's what's been on my mind. Baseball and Last of Us.
Interesting. All right, Jeff. Well, in my locker this week, this last week, my wife went on the girls' trip. So that's a part of the reasons why we couldn't do the podcast. And but she went on a girls' trip. She had a really good time with her best friend down in San Antonio, and they were.
Don't blame your wife, Brian. Don't blame your wife.
I'm just giving you the reasons why our fans missed us last week. It feels weird saying fans, but anyways, she was on a trip. She had a good time. They came back Sunday. They left Thursday night and came back Sunday. Over the weekend, I took the kids to the trampoline park. I wanted to take some time and take them out, and we had a blast there. I had 3 of the 4 kids with me, and they had a blast. And then that night, Jeff, I said, I'm going to take them out to eat. My mom wanted to go with us. So I said, come on, we'll go to Lupe Tortillas. And then I was in pain, Jeff. I started feeling this weird pain. Couldn't get comfortable. It was weird. I'm like, man, it felt like my kidneys. And man, I was like, what in the world? So I go in the restaurant and I put us on the list and I said, I need to go to the bathroom. I go to the bathroom and I start peeing some blood. Okay. So very painful. I said, well, I need to go to the doctor. This is not, when you're peeing blood, go to the doctor. So we go to an urgent care, but they were closed.
What?
Yes. They closed at 5. I walked in the door at 5:15. Our Lupe Tortillas was an hour and 20-minute wait. So we drove over to the urgent care. Couldn't get in there, Jeff. I was like, son of a gun. Well, my pain had stopped. I was like, well, I don't feel any pain. My bladder feels weird. I don't know. So we actually went back to Lupe Tortillas and sat down and ate dinner. And I was like, I'll be okay. No worries. Whatever. It was, I don't know what it was. But it was fine. That night, I get back into pain again. I'm like, my goodness, I can't sit still. I can't get comfortable. It goes away again. And in the morning, I said, well, I'll see what happens. And then the pain kicked in again. I said, all right, I'm going to urgent care. Find out I had kidney stones, Jeff. I thought maybe UTI, but she said, no, you have a kidney stone and you either passed it or it's in the bladder itself right now and you'll pass it later. And that was it. So after that, I had no more pain and nothing. So I think I passed it at Lupe Tortilla's bathroom.
Jeez.
And, my brother texted me the next day. He's like, did you pass the kidney stone? I'm like, yeah, but it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. It was painful, but it wasn't too bad. But they say the real pain is if it doesn't come out. So that's when you feel like you're giving birth to a child and you're in agony. So thank gosh it wasn't that. But it still wasn't a fun experience. But other than that, I had a good weekend. Man, it's been Amazon week this week. We've ordered a lot of different things from Amazon. I got a new gaming chair. My wife bought me a chair for Father's Day to game in, and my kids broke it. So I ordered a different gaming chair for me. So that's it. I'm sitting in there right now. I ordered the new Mac Mini. I'm actually doing the podcast on it right now. I got me a 27-inch curved monitor, a nice keyboard and mouse. So I'm really enjoying it, and I never bought an Apple. I'm not an Apple fan. Never bought an Apple, but so far no complaints. It's super fast, and so far I like it. But I got to really kind of deep dive into this thing since I don't know Apple. Pretty excited. I want to get a camera, and we'll start getting some different things, and then my next will probably be the camera, and then a new mic. But I've been playing a lot of MLB The Show. I got 3 franchises going on right now, Jeff. I got one with the Toronto Blue Jays. I got one with the Atlanta Braves. And I got one with the Chicago White Sox. So I've been playing the heck out of that game. And it's fantastic. fantastic baseball game. I've been trying to get it to where it's kind of even. I think I found that right mark where it's competitive. Yeah.
Yeah,
And that's what we got going on over here.
I think that fans will start seeing a few different things in terms of updates. I know that I'm trying to get a camera soon, and then I think the next thing would be maybe the boom arm. I might be able to get the boom arm before I get the camera, but yeah, once we do that, we may not do live on YouTube. We may just do it through Riverside, because Riverside does have it to where we can put our graphics on our video, and then we could just upload the video to YouTube from there, which I think is probably the easiest and fastest way to do it. It's tricky trying to live stream and go through OBS, and it's different.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, we don't have to live stream. If we ever wanted a live stream too, we could always do a random Facebook live stream.
Speaking of that, I've been dabbling in Clubhouse. So Clubhouse is interesting. I'm pretty sure maybe at this point people have heard of it. If you haven't, it's basically it's like going into a chat room that's full of voices, right? So like if anyone's ever been in a chat room when you were like a 90s kid, if you're listening, and it's just constant people chatting, throwing up stuff, that sometimes I would always go into the game ones, to the pool, and play pool, and people are chatting and whatever. So this is kind of like that, but it's all voices. So people are in there, they're talking about whatever. It could be about topic, could be one of them was talking about sports. One of them was talking about just the Clubhouse service itself over after the year it's been out. So it's kind of interesting. It's like walking into a live podcast.
And where do you find that at?
It's available everywhere now. It's on Android. It's on iOS. iOS is where it started, and it was only a beta, so you had to get invited. But now it's open to everybody. So now we're going to start seeing some really interesting things. You're going to see some celebrities on there. I know when it was public, or when it was beta, there were people. All of a sudden, you had Drake come in to one.
No
which
way.
is kind of just random. So it's pretty cool. It's pretty interesting. And I wonder if any sports people are going to start one, and interact with fans that way. That would be kind of cool. Maybe they'll do like a filter in there. So maybe only like 5 people at a time, and then they'll cycle some out, cycle some in. But yeah, that's something that'll be interesting. And if any of the fans are curious about that, try it out. Take a look. It's something that definitely I'm looking into. If we ever do like a one-off thing or whatever, and want to talk about a big topic, and don't want to set up the cameras, get everything ready, we could just hop on that and do something off our phones. So
Trying to find it on the App Store, but I can't.
It's called Clubhouse.
Can't see it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But
That sounds interesting. And
Yeah.
look, I'm going to start doing a little more videos, Facebook stuff, stories or something on our videos on whatever, because just to get more content out there, some breaking news breaks and stuff. But
yeah, I think we definitely should get on some of the breaking news stuff. If you ever, if anybody wants to, I know Instagram's a big one for video. If you ever make a video, Brian, just send it to me, and I'll put it on there. That way you could record it on your phone and then just send it to me. A short video, obviously.
yeah,
And then and I could pop it up on there for viewers and stuff. But yeah, the shows we're doing a lot of interesting things and finding a lot of interesting ways. We're even curious about marketing, and what that means, so it's going to be fun. We're definitely going to grow for sure.
All right, man. Well, this has been an interesting episode. Like I said, we got a lot of changes coming up. We told you one already about the new website coming, and we got one here coming up in a couple weeks, and it's something you'll notice. We'll obviously tell you what it is if you don't, but you should notice it definitely. I want to thank you, Jeff, for jumping on this week. Glad we were able to get back on and sit on an episode. And we hope you guys have a blessed weekend and enjoy your weekend, guys.
I'm glad to be on. Glad to for us to be able to talk to our audience for sure. Take care, everybody.
All right, guys. Take care.